Thank you for finding your seats, and we'll get started. I have a very brief function today. I'm guessing many of you do not know me. My name is Ian Patrick, and I'm just starting my second year here at Greensboro Day School as the Assistant Head of School for Institutional Advancement. I very much look forward to getting to know you in the coming months and years, and just so thrilled that you're here today. So here are my housekeeping tips. Number one, you'll see that I took my mask off to speak. When you are in the theater, if you could keep your mask on, and then also when we go to both ribbon cuttings, because they'll be indoors, we would greatly appreciate it. It's been one of the great things that's allowed us to be open this year, and we take it very seriously, so thanks for your help with that. Number two, to our honorees, when you do come up to give your remarks, please feel free to take this off, as I have, and be comfortable when you speak. And then you just put them back on when you return. This is kind of a joke, but also serious. Our first ribbon cutting starts at 5:15, and there may be some people that go directly to the ribbon cutting that didn't come to this ceremony. So honorees, if you could help us with your remarks, that would be fantastic. Our goal is to get this done in roughly an hour without speeding through anything, because you're all very important to the school. Finally, I don't know if you guys have heard the buzz, but we've got an incredibly dynamic head of school. Her name's Tracy Catlett. We've been incredibly lucky that she's led us the last 2 years through a turbulent time with COVID. Fearless leader. She's inspiring us every day to do what we can do to be prepared for whatever faces us. And she will open our program today, and it's my pleasure to introduce Tracy Catlett, our head of school.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to start off with a small story that's going to sound familiar. It was early spring of 2020. Students, teachers, faculty, and staff packed their class and office essentials, not knowing that a government stay-at-home order would soon follow. Like so many schools across the globe, GDS was in uncharted territory. Our teachers did their best, and frankly, our entire community did their best, and the teaching and learning continued remotely. Our teachers, faculty, and staff would remain off campus for nearly 4 months. Again, this is a familiar story that GDS shares with so many schools, but today you get to see an unfinished part of the story. It's a GDS tradition to honor former faculty and staff that have invested 20 or more years here at Greensboro Day School. Stay-at-home orders and a worldwide pandemic would delay last year's celebration for 5 of today's honorees. The unfinished part of today's story is about how we said goodbye to so many of these wonderful people in 2020. For those who departed, David, Beth, Cheryl, Ruthie, and Mary Beth in 2020, we were all at home, campus was empty, and our community was living with the burden of the unknown. Can you imagine being a part of a community for 20, 30, 40 years and not being able to say goodbye in person? No hugs, no face-to-face communication. That was our story in 2020. Our goodbyes were on Zoom. That's no way to have an ending. There were no gatherings, and we had to live with so much that we couldn't control. So today we will close the chapter of the unfinished part of that story. Today we will continue the rich tradition of honoring former faculty and staff who worked tirelessly as a bingo for 20 or more years. Today is a day of love, honor, and gratitude. And counter to what we might be thinking, it's not a day of goodbye. It's actually a day for so many of us to say hello and welcome back to campus, especially for 5 that departed in 2020. Following our celebration here in the theater, we will take our celebration by foot outside, first to the McMillian Center and then to the upper school. We're going to honor 3 GDS legends, Tricia Fish, Jackie Upton, and Tommy Webb. It's a thrilling day, and I'm glad that we can all do this in person and together. So let's get to it, shall we? I'm both honored and humbled to recognize and thank 8 former faculty and staff of the Greensboro Day School community today. In just a minute, you're going to hear from all of them individually, but I'd like to kick off the celebration by first recognizing them collectively. So Rosemary Cook, David Gilbert, Dale Harwell, Beth Hopkins, Cheryl Love, Mary Beth Phillips, Ruthie Tutterow, and Tommy Webb. Would you just please stand for a moment so we can get a look at you and have you wave to everyone? Two of our honorees are not with us in person today, Dale Harwell and Beth Hopkins. So I'd like to take a moment to recognize Dale and Beth. Over her 22 years as a loyal Bengal, Dale Harwell served the school in many different roles. She began her career in 1999 as a kindergarten assistant and then transitioned to other roles in the advancement and business offices. Her most recent position was the business office accountant, and she retired earlier this year. Known for her sense of humor and love of family, Dale always wore a smile. Please join me in a round of applause in honor of Dale Harwell. Beth Hopkins, first grade teacher, joined GDS in 1989. For over 30 years, starting as a student teacher in the very same room in which she retired. That's amazing. She has been a giver, a committed educator, and a consummate professional. Beth's decades of experience in both first and second grades made a significant impact on the lives of many children, many of whom became GDS parents here. Beth didn't just teach children, she taught them how to find a joy in reading and writing and learning. Students were always at the heart of her teaching and learning strategies. Please join me in a round of applause in honoring Beth Hopkins. For our 6 honorees here today, let's get this party started. It's time to honor you, and it's now my pleasure to welcome our interim director of the upper school, Peter Williams, to the stage to introduce our next honoree. Peter, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is ridiculously good to see many of your faces back on campus again for the first time in a very long time. My name is Peter Williams. I've been serving as our academic dean, and this year I'm honored to serve as our interim director of the upper school. It's my 9th year at GDS, and I'm going to speak very briefly about Miss Ruthie Tutterow. I remember the first year I was here, I believe we were doing Drowsy Chaperone, and that was my first Greensboro Day School production. And I came with my wife, and I'd been to a lot of high school musicals. I'd even been in a few of them. And so I thought I knew what to expect, and I remember my wife and I looked at each other sort of halfway through the show. Where do I work now? Like, what is going on? And a great deal of that success in the program has been due to Miss Ruthie Tutterow. GDS alumnus Pat D. Robinson, class of 2009, had the following to say about Miss Tutterow. Miss Tutterow is an outstanding drama teacher, director, and theater artist. Now that I've been out of school for more than a decade and worked in both the theater world and the education world, I've gained even more gratitude and appreciation for Miss Tutterow and what she and others were able to build at GDS. The opportunities I had in the GDS drama program were amazing. Acting in a Chekhov play, writing and producing my first original play, cutting my hair into a mullet for a part, and having synthetic mutton chops glued to my face every night to play Javert in Les Mis. Miss Tutterow was my first introduction to the professional world of the arts. Arrive on time, warm up, and most importantly, be a team player and work together. Miss Tutterow even allowed me and 2 classmates to improv half of a comedic play, which I know gave her nightmares about what we might say on opening night. I loved every minute of it. I really appreciated how Miss Tutterow would recognize different students' processes and allow them to grow as artists and people at their own pace, because she truly believes in her students, which is the best trait that a teacher or director can have. So much of my life after graduation has been molded by Miss Tutterow in the GDS drama program, having 4 original plays produced in New York City and also working as an educator. Miss Tutterow always encouraged and pushed me to be the best I could be and to continue writing and acting, and I want to wish her the most well-deserved retirement. Last time I saw Miss Tutterow, she was acting in Mamma Mia in the mountains of North Carolina, and she was the star of the show. Miss Tutterow really does it all, and I'm so grateful that she was my teacher, director, and friend. I would now like to invite Ruthie to the stage to say a few words. Ruthie, come on up.
Hello.
It's so good to see everyone, and it's so surreal to be on this stage. I just want to say thank you. Nobody does what they do by themselves. And I remember, I used to live in the neighborhood right behind this school, and I was doing other jobs, and I went, I know I'm going to end up there one day. I just know I am. And the only way that I know I can do it is if I have a technical director. And so I want to especially thank Mr. Dana Lowell for being there the whole time and always seeing through our artistic visions together. I had so many wonderful colleagues, Beth Dunbar, Judy McLaughlin-Cram, Denise Johnson, everybody that was here. I really, really appreciated everything that you put into this program. I also want to thank all my drama mamas, oh my goodness, all of these parents that stepped up and supported us in so many ways over the years. I'm just so incredibly grateful. I also want to thank my husband, Alan. I could never have done this without him. When I interviewed for this job, I was out to here pregnant with my daughter, Laura, who is now a beautiful 22-year-old. Love you, my dear. My husband was there, doing all the things that I couldn't do when I was at rehearsals every night. And there with a margarita and an ear to listen when I was having a tough day. So thank you, Alan. I just am so grateful for all of my colleagues here at GDS for supporting what we did and, understanding when the kids were tired. It's just this career, I'm just so incredibly proud of what we were able to do. And it's afforded me so many opportunities in my retirement. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Ruthie. I'm Jillian Goodman, Lower School Director, and it is truly a privilege to be here honoring such incredible educators. We are truly standing on your collective shoulders, and we are so glad that you're here. I had the privilege of spending my entire career at GDS with Rosemary Cook. And while I have so many things that I could say about her generous spirit and her skills and her character, children always say it best. And while Kit McGinley is no longer a child, I just saw her this afternoon, I do want to share what she had to say about Rosemary Cook. Mrs. Cook made science class welcoming, exciting, and meaningful. Not a day goes by where I do not think of ways to curb my water usage when brushing my teeth or doing the dishes. Growing lima bean plants taught me to be like a plant and always grow towards the sunshine. And that having a green thumb is merely a matter of practicing discipline. Dissecting pig's eyes taught me the literal meaning of more than meets the eye, and that ophthalmology is not everybody's vocation. A deep love of science is merely curiosity nurtured, and Mrs. Cook did just that. Her teachings will last a lifetime and have undoubtedly made my world more interesting and more beautiful. Thank you so much, Mrs. Cook. I would now like to invite Rosemary Cook to the stage to say a few words.
Oh, wow. It would be a whole lot easier to do this if we were up in the lab, or if we were in the garden, or if we were down at the pond, or if we were just hanging out together. Mrs. Cook, look what I found, look what I found. That is just my most enjoyable part. And I want to thank GDS for letting me play with the children for so many years and have so much fun. And I want to thank the children for sharing their whole lives with me. I got to keep them with me they started in kindergarten. I had them for 6 years, some of them. And it was wonderful seeing them grow up and develop and be inquisitive and ask questions and challenge me. They got smarter as the years went on. I had to keep studying so I could stay ahead of them. So I just want to thank GDS for the opportunity for spending my life here after I was in other schools, and thank my family for sharing me with the other kids in the world. And I hope I get to continue doing all this with all my grandkids and all my grandkids that are from GDS. So thank you very much and see you around.
Thank you, Rosemary. I am Kristen Tuma, Director of the middle school. This is my first year in this role, but my 14th at Greensboro Day. I am honored to say that I've enjoyed working with our next two honorees during my time here. The first is Mrs. Cheryl Love. GDS alumnus Scott Zimmerman from the class of 2004 had the following to say about Mrs. Cheryl Love. Mrs. Love is the best. She cared about her students and more than just being their math teacher, and they felt it. Hers was always a safe and welcoming room that you could use if you needed a quiet place. Also, if you were curious about how much you've grown from one year to the next, she was happy to track that for you behind her door. She had a bond with almost every one of her students and knew how to get the best out of them. I hope she enjoys this well-deserved retirement. I would now like to invite Cheryl to the stage to say a few words.
So I was taught to tell who I am. So I'm Cheryl Love, and I taught at Greensboro Day School from 1991 to 2020. Before I bore you with my acceptance speech for the honor of being at the right place at the right time with the right people, I want you to think about your life. If you could go back in time and spend a year at a previous age, what age would you choose? If you're a parent, I'd like you to also think about your children and what age in their lives you would like to revisit. Now, thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Michael Sumner, for letting us be here today. Thank you, Greensboro Day School, for taking a chance on me. I was a new graduate with very little experience when you selected me to join the upper school family. What a good fortune that I shared a room with Bob Satterfield and taught geometry under his tutelage. A master teacher, an exceptional human, Bob encouraged my ideas and made me feel at home. The following year, I taught advanced geometry with the mentorship of Kathy Davis. The patience, humor, and compassion modeled by these two master teachers was essential to my growth, and I especially appreciate their confidence in me. I'm going to read, and I'm going to read fast. You keep thinking about what I told you to think about. Thank you, Bob Demery, for your masterful use of the English language and your consistent support. Thank you, David Gilbert, for your exceptional reasoning abilities, your willingness to listen, and your compassion when getting asked for advice. Thank you, Kay Wyndham, Jane Gutzel, Cindy Garrison, Judy Arnett, Sue Seagraves for sharing your brilliant insights. Thank you, Ralph Davison, for your institutional organizational structure, which left every adult at GDS responsible for supporting the relationship between the students and the teachers. Thank you for reminding us that we can do anything we want, but we have to do it. We can only spend our money once, and how can we do it better? Thank you for your support of the IOI program and giving us the opportunity to gather at annual retreats and build relationships with one another. Thank you for encouraging faculty to be lifelong learners and supporting us in this endeavor. Thank you to the Parents Association, Tommy Webb, Mark Hale, for raising money to build new spaces and continue the learning experiences for teachers. Thank you, Shirley McCready and Carl Fensky, who modeled how to relate to 8th graders and their parents. Mrs. McCready kept her expectations for her students high while reminding their parents that children are in the midst of change. She would often say, "Maturity is a wonderful thing." She and Carl handled difficult situations with ease and ensured that dignity was kept by all. Thank you to the mathematics departments for spending time together, ensuring that our program was aligned. Thank you, Nancy Teague, for teaching conceptually, focusing on problem solving, and sending lower school students to middle school loving math and feeling confident. Thank you to Carol Williams for helping those students transition to the middle school, teaching conceptually and helping them use oral and written language skills to communicate mathematics as well as symbols. Thank you, Carol, for your strong curricular understanding and your knowledge of students and parents, and for being a great friend and sounding board. Thank you, Mary Beth, for pushing students to hone their skills, working for speed with arithmetic and exciting them with pre-algebra ideas. Your enthusiasm was contagious. Thanks to all three of you for setting me up for success. Thank you, Louise Cornett, for letting me know what concepts I needed to beef up and what concepts I should save for you to teach. Thank you, Cindy Stan. Thank you, Cindy Stan, for your love of teens and your upbeat attitude. Thank you to the freshman physics and chemistry teachers throughout the years for helping me prepare students for your subjects. Thank you to the 8th grade team. Thank you, Beth Dunbar, champion of teaming, for your creativity, love of students, and patience with adults. You are the nicest person I know. Thank you, Tim Martin, for being a dedicated expert on too many subjects. Thank you for your curiosity and your willingness to try new things. Piloting new programs with you was exhilarating. Thanks to both of you for your passion for education and your respect for one another. We made decisions based on who felt most strongly and could argue their position best, not majority rule. Together, we created an advising program built on character education, connected to student readings in history and English. Thank you for nurturing the whole child. Together, we worked with many talented people over the years. Thank you, Kay Zimmerman, an impressive educator and friend to all. Thank you to Kim Burrows, Jose Navarro, Naneshka Boylston, Corinza Wooden, Sonny Willis, Brad Pazant, David Blake, Judy Cram, Jillian Williams, Jeremy Scherer, Michelle Osborne, and many others who planned and executed the advising program with us and who traveled with us to DC. Thank you, Jeremy Scherer, for taking on this important work. Thank you to Ed Dickinson, John King, and Mary Vance for your guidance and support. You knew my heart, and you helped me navigate many tough situations for the benefit of our students. Your willingness to edit my words and your communication with parents and students in conferences and behind the scenes allowed me to do my best work. Thank you to Angela Blue for always being available to problem-solve solutions for new students and students with special needs. Thank you to my family who appreciated the intensity of my responsibility toward my students and waited patiently for summer to enjoy time with me. Thank you to Gerald who understood when I got quiet on the phone because I was grading papers. Thank you to my parents who supported me in dedicating half of my life to my profession. Thank you to my children who understood that I had a new family of 8th graders each year. Thank you to their teachers who were there for them as I was for my students. Thank you for Trish Fish and Jackie Upton getting my children into colleges that were right for them. Thank you most of all to my husband, Bill Love, my college math professor, who was always available as a resource, who supported me in giving my time and energy to my students, and who listened to my concerns for students ad nauseum. Thank you for your enthusiasm when I came up with an unconventional method for connecting students with mathematical ideas, and your willingness to create manipulative tools to use in the classroom. Thank you for waiting on me. Now, audience, wake up and tell me what age you chose for yourself and or your children. What age? What age do you want to be? 18, okay. 20s? Did anybody choose 13 or 14? Please recognize that this age child is capable of abstract thinking some of the time and is difficult for a reason. Life is challenging for them, and they aren't always cute and fun. So if you can love a child at this age, you need to do it. They need you to love them for who they are at this time and see them as the fabulous adults that they will be.
Thank you, Cheryl. It is my privilege to introduce another middle school teacher, Mrs. Mary Beth Phillips. GDS alumna Abby Samet from the class of 2021 wrote the following. Mrs. Phillips was the comforting figure everyone needed throughout their middle school years. The relationships she made with her students went far beyond the classroom, and having the iconic nickname Mama P is a clear indicator of that. I know that GDS will have a hard time replacing someone as genuine and funny as Mrs. Phillips, and I cannot thank her enough for all her continual support throughout my academic career. She turned me into a confident and driven math student within a matter of months. She would work with me until I fully understood each concept, no matter how long it took. I will always remember the time I got back my divisibility rules quiz to see 100 written at the top of the paper. This was a personal victory for both of us and gave me the push I needed to become a strong math student. Because of her, I now approach the subject with a completely different mindset, one that has allowed me to succeed in courses all throughout high school and equipped me with the necessary tools to do the same in college. Mrs. Phillips' long-lasting impact on the Greensboro Day School community is unparalleled. The degree of love and care she brought to school every day created an energy in the classroom unlike any other. I am so fortunate to have been one of Mama P's students and cannot imagine my life or my math grades without the influence that she had on me. I would now like to invite Mary Beth, or Mama P, to the stage to say a few words.
Well, I have no notes. And for anyone who knows me, that's kind of, as Cheryl said, it'll be exciting. I'd like to first say whatever Cheryl said. I just ditto that, because I think all the people she did, we're so close to having come to Greensboro Day School at the same time. Where I had been before Greensboro Day School, I spent just a couple of minutes to get there because it includes one that we really love so much. And thanks to my husband for waiting on me as well and giving me opportunities to do different things before I just landed on teaching. I was selling pharmaceuticals with a drug company car, the whole thing. And honey, don't you think if we're gonna have children. So okay, I went back to school, teaching gifted students in Rockingham County, AKA Mayberry. And I loved those schools up there, and they were just wonderful. And they treated me so well. And it was really hard to leave, but you know, if you're gonna move up in education, you gotta go get some more education, you know. So about 2/3 of the way through a master's degree in supervision, curriculum supervision, I took a 12-month job. That was such a mistake. But the broken roads that lead you to where you are, you know, everybody's got them. And that was one of those circuitous kind of, you know, rambling times in my life where I did leave a nurturing school, Mayberry, went to Lincoln Middle School to be the first math specialist in the first magnet school in Greensboro. And the nurturing just wasn't quite as, you know, there for you. Whole different thing. And then preterm labor. Loved it. Because that set me up again to break away from one school and come and visit another. And that was Greensboro Day School, where my friend Bob Satterfield was, and my new friend Kathy Davis was, and I was asked by Nancy Teague to come over and judge a math, before the preterm, was asked to come and judge a math fair. Great project, really hard for teachers to do and get students to do, but always worthwhile. And I was so glad to come over and got to visit this school where they could possibly have an opening the next year and get your application in. So I did, and there comes the preterm, because I'm in the office. I've done my whole application except for my philosophy of education. And I'm in the hospital asking for paper. I need to get this done. They're going to give my job away. So I came over, interviewed. I don't know if Ralph is here or not, but Ruthie said she was, you know, great and large with her dog, with Laura before she, when she was interviewing. I think Ralph showed fear. I think he did. He showed fear. I was so big. And in his room, I just came over and kind of sat the baby down, and then me, and so he said yes because he was nervous, I think. But anyway. Then I went on to interview with the middle school. That was an interesting experience, and I remember them asking me a question about discipline. I said, "Do you mean you guys don't paddle?" I still got the job. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, I've had the issue a lot. But in 1990, my son was born, went to Montessori, then came over here for kindergarten, as did 4 years later my daughter come to kindergarten in her time. And they both graduated from here, and I can't thank Greensboro Day enough for growing me up, sometimes in difficult ways. I've been challenging, and love to be that person though, you know, someone, I always like to speak up for people, sometimes to, you know, not good things for me, but we had that kind of experience here where you could say things and bring things up and have that kind of banter that you need from the intelligent people that are still here, but that were here when I was the only one hired that year. And I'm going to tell you, you know, if my ego weren't large enough to handle it, and it was, I did fine, but it was exciting. There were some very, very, very impressive minds here. Again, showing to so many of them. But I just say thank you. My two children are doing great. I think that students, from what I hear, that we move through our halls and classrooms, do so well. And it's not because you've written down an outline of what's supposed to be covered. It has to do with that relationship. And I've seen so many relationships built here for students that you thought, you know, wouldn't find anyone to support them hardly. And you go, you've got to be that person for them. And you look around and there are 3 other teachers and 4 other students in these walls helping with that. So I will tell you, it's a place I miss. I miss my friends. I miss teaching. I miss sharing the fun that I think math is. Because anybody that knows me knows I just love to teach algebra. And isn't that a funny thing to say? But I really do. And I enjoyed it most with all the folks that have stayed with me for so long. So thank you. I know that group will be built up again. And we don't handle change anywhere that well. And here it's tough because you're building teams. You're building teams of personalities. And if that team's not right, it doesn't move students or you along as well as it could. So that's really hard to do. I don't envy the job of any curriculum supervisor, director, principal. Never finished that master's degree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. You know, very rarely when I come across people, whether it's working with them, do you find, or have I found someone with a sparkle in their eye? And I can say, Mary Beth, you have a sparkle in your eye. I taught math for a long time, and I know for a fact that part of your success, a big part of your success, were those relationships and building confidence in students to do math. So thank you. Well, shortly after my arrival in 2019, I began my listening tour with current faculty and staff, students, and parents. I dined with former faculty to hear firsthand what was so special about GDS. There was one common theme that rose from my listening tour. He was a man named Tommy Webb. Tommy's connections and relationships run deep and wide at GDS, and they transcend not just our campus, but the state of North Carolina. When asked how they found their way to GDS, so many faculty said the conversation started like this. I met this nice fellow named Tommy. Or, I interviewed with Mr. Webb. Or, Mr. Webb suggested I go get some experience and come back, and I did. When asked why they stayed at GDS, so many teachers mentioned having a great mentor in Tommy Webb and appreciated the professional development support system that Tommy led, developed, and encouraged. Working alongside Tommy over the last couple of years confirmed my lived experience with these words. Others and myself would describe Tommy as a true gentleman, a mentor, a relationship builder, a diversity advocate, a GDS ambassador, and the list goes on. Here's what a former student, Charlie Stone, class of 2003, had to say about Tommy Webb. I really enjoyed the GDS alumni event several years ago that Tommy hosted in London. It was palpable how much affection everyone had for Mr. Webb and how he touched so many lives. A number of alums noted that their decision to go to the school was heavily influenced by their interactions with Mr. Webb when he was involved with admission or alums from disadvantaged backgrounds who believed they succeeded at school because he took special care of them when he was a teacher. His memory for students across the decades was incredible as well, and it has been a privilege to know him from my student days to now talking with him and taking him around to different parts of Europe. Tommy, you've been a wonderful advisor, mentor, friend, and teacher, and historian, I might add. I thank you so much. Please come on up and say a few words.
Thank you, Tracy and Michael, Ian, and all those others, Beth, that put this event together today. To each of you for being a part of this day, you are important to Greensboro Day School, and I am thrilled to be here with you. My love and appreciation for the school came early on in some of these older pictures here, way back in 1982. And yet, I grew to appreciate the history of the school well beyond my own time. And people like Charlie McClendon, the first board chair, the founders, trustee chairs like Gail LeBauer, who's here today, and other trustees that are in the crowd, who made this their focus from that outside world to make it happen. We've all been fortunate to be here in the community of Greensboro, which is a very unique history, a history of people and faiths like no other, is what I keep telling people. Greensboro, the community, is incredibly unique. With passion and inclusivity, things have moved forward here at Greensboro Day School like few other schools that I know of. A school that has never settled for good. In fact, exceptional has always been the goal. I do remember my first visit, close to that bottom left picture up there, and I met with Jim Hendricks in March of 1982. He didn't tell me this might be a long-term commitment. We only do one-year contracts. And yet he and others led me to believe, even in that very first visit, that this opportunity would be very exciting. Jim and his faculty, even in those days, had something exceptional going on here, something with current value and a powerful future. It was noticeable then, and certainly is noticeable today, Tracy. Jim had attracted and retained a fascinating group of teachers. No two of them exactly alike, yet each with a commitment uncommon in schools. All schools have some of this. GDS is full of this. Thanks to Ed and Freddie and David and others who were here before me and when I came and visited in 1982 for making that strong impression on me. So here we came, the incoming new class of faculty in 1982 that included not only Cindy Stan and Val Vickers and Sybil Davis, Christine Phillips, Ann Adams, and others. Jim, Ed, and Carla helped us all grow as educators. Ralph Davison followed Jim with additional passion and a drive for diversity. Thanks, Ralph, for those many opportunities that came in my way in your powerful 20 years. The campus grew, buildings were added, faculty were attracted and thrived here. 2006, my friend Mark Hale arrived from the West Coast and introduced many complementary features to our school. Again, his eye for design transformed our campus, opened it up to this beautiful space we are today. We laughed, we learned, we grew programs and perspectives, increasing the success that the founders dreamed about. Tracy, your 2+ years have seen challenges galore. Yet the focus is so obvious, and the employee commitment remains very, very strong. Thank you for the support that you have shown me since your earliest days and even visiting this school. You are giving GDS an impressive foundation for the next 50 years. Board members, parents, former students, thanks for believing in all of us in this significant mission of education. Yet, faculty, you are the bread and butter. You are the soul of GDS. All of the rest of us, we're here to support you, to allow you to perform your brilliance in the classroom. Current faculty, keep up that exceptional work. There's a lot before you and a lot more to come. Keep learning and moving forward. Ann, Hart, and Keats, thanks for making this a family career. 39 years that we have all enjoyed and appreciated. Your love and support are endless. And again, to each of you, my heartfelt thanks for these 39 years.
Wow, thank you, Tommy. My name is Ed Billingsley, and I'm Assistant Head of School for Student Services and Dean of Student Life. And this is my 5th year at Greensboro Day School. It is my honor to introduce the longest tenured faculty member ever at GDS, Mr. David Gilbert, who served the school for 44 years. Former head of school, Jim Hendricks, had the following to say about Mr. Gilbert. Dave Gilbert belongs in that pantheon of great Bengals who have been instrumental in the development of the day school. Loyal, passionate about teaching and learning, and tireless. The list of his fundamental contributions to the evolution of GDS is almost endless. He brought technology to the school in 1979 with 2 small Apple computers, the first school in the state to take such a step. He ably led the college counseling program in his formative days. He was one of the pillars who developed the improvement of instruction program. He joined with Kay Wyndham and others to give GDS a science program of the highest quality. He was an early, enthusiastic, and continuing supporter of the junior outdoor education trip. And the list goes on. A consummate gentleman, scholar, and master teacher, Greensboro Day would not be what it is today without his invaluable contributions. I would like to now invite David Gilbert to the stage to say a few words. David.
Thank you, all of you. You're too kind and generous with your applause. Michael, Beth, and the advancement office, Tracy, all of you who have planned this event, thank you so much for doing this and giving us this opportunity. And those of you here to recognize me and my colleagues, sincerest thanks and appreciation for your being here. Now, Michael made it very clear that we were supposed to have 3 minutes apiece, right? Fortunately, some of my predecessors here have taken a few more than 3 minutes. I'll try to do my best. But if you divide 44 years by 3 minutes, you get about 4 seconds per year, and so I've already consumed about 5 of the years. So that obviously is not an appropriate plan for reflecting on my career here. I actually contemplated bringing my cello and playing Saint-Saëns' Swan as a 3-minute swan song. But I already did that for Bob Demery's retirement a number of years ago, so that would not be appropriate today either. So I set a different topic question, and that is, what accounts for me being here at this podium this afternoon in September of 2021? And here's my attempt at a 3-minute pared down version of what brings me here. By the way, I noticed there are very few contemporary pictures. I'm not sure who selected those, but here's the present. In the summer of 1996, I was enrolled in a Master of Arts in Teaching program at Duke, and I was looking for a one-year teaching position in the area in between 2 summers when I would be completing the program. And in spite of my sincere intention to teach in the public schools, through which I had experienced for all of my education, I accepted an offer to teach math and physics at a young independent school in Greensboro. It was a tough year, that first year, as is the case for many first-year teachers. I found myself teaching with my favorite teachers from high school, from my high school, as my models. But in all candor, at that time, the GDS program, especially in math, was not operating at the level that my high school had been operating. It was a challenging and at times very frustrating first year. So why did I stay after that first year? Well, initially, simply because I was too exhausted to look for a job elsewhere. You know what first year teaching is like, especially if you're surrounding it with enrollment in a graduate school program. I also learned, though, that summer that the school had hired a new headmaster. This was Jim Hendricks, who was the former academic dean at Green Hill School in Dallas. And he had been hired, and I understood was determined to see GDS establish a thriving and distinguished high school built on top of the K-8 program that had been flourishing during the first few years of the school. So I came back for that second year. And why did I stay for 42 more years? Well, I stayed because there was an endless stream of professional opportunities. And there was always something new to work on. And I think it's already been cited by Cheryl. Yes, Ralph Davison always challenged us with the question, can we do it better? There was always something to work on. So I am extremely grateful for the many, many opportunities that I had working with my talented and distinguished and truly dedicated colleagues at GDS. A short list of some of the opportunities that I had to experience with them includes developing a more rigorous math curriculum for all students, developing comprehensive teacher improvement of instruction and evaluation program, the IOI program you heard reference to. Yes, bringing computers onto the campus and into the curriculum. Strengthening and broadening the college guidance program, adding an exchange student program that eventually became a visiting and fully enrolled student program. Adding experiential education components to our entire curriculum, with the junior backpacking trip being my special involvement. Strengthening the middle school program by separating it from the upper school. Ed Dickinson was the first director of a middle school in Guilford County. We had the first middle school in Guilford County. Affiliating GDS with the Outdoor Academy and with the Semester School Network. Getting involved in long-range planning for the school and developing, in fact, with our business office, a comprehensive capital plan renewal program for our facilities. Working with Terry Buxton to plan the expansion of our upper school from about 250 students to 320 plus students. Bringing the Chinese language program to GDS. And in general, working as academic dean with the division directors to continue the growth and development of faculty and curriculum in our program. And all along this time, opportunities to teach, whether it be physics or math or computer science, always gave me the opportunity to strive to teach challenging subjects in a way that connected with my students. I'll also admit that one of the reasons I stayed was because one of the parents of a geometry student of mine, back many years, set me up for a date. with a young member of their firm. And what followed within a year was a wedding to Margaret Rowlett, my lovely and brilliant wife, who is right down here. And then 3 beautiful daughters. And by the time they reached school age, Margaret and I knew that GDS had much to offer them. 2 final thoughts. As I took on more administrative responsibilities, I always recalled Dr. David Purple's reminder. David Purple was the one who guided the faculty in the development of the IOI program, curriculum and supervision specialist at UNCG at the time. And he always reminded us that to administer is to be one who ministers to the needs of, in the case of the school, the faculty and students. It was a perspective that I greatly valued and strove always to live up to. And secondly, over time, working with my talented colleagues, I learned to fully appreciate and aspire to emulate those master teachers here at GDS who knew their subjects far beyond what they were teaching to their students, so that what they were teaching had relevance and was ultimately in the context of a greater field of study. And teachers who always remembered that we don't just teach a subject, we teach students. Okay, well, that was a little more than 3 minutes, but my students always complained that my 45-minute test took at least 60 minutes. So I'm just taking after that tradition. Thank you, friends, colleagues. I am extremely grateful for having been a part of GDS over these past 44 years, plus 1 delay, and bringing it to the state of being an educational community of true distinction that it is today. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, David. Tracy's about to return to the podium, and she's going to share details on our 2 ribbon cutting ceremonies that are about to take place starting at 5:15. But I did want to pause and share this with you. In the last 7 months, we had an outstanding couple, Ann and Sam Hummel, who really wanted David to be recognized in a formal way. And so they created an endowment in his name and his honor. It will be named the David Gilbert Global Education Endowed Fund. And it's really set aside, I promise you, named endowments aren't inexpensive, right? And it's because they know the great work that David did and wanted to make sure that he was recognized forever. And so it's a great honor. David, help me congratulate David. I now invite Tracy back to the podium, and she's going to tell us the particulars of these 2 great festivities we have underway. Tracy.
What a special event with so many special people. I've enjoyed celebrating with you all today, and I hope you can join us for the ribbon cutting ceremony. I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of those right now. Okay, we are going to honor Tommy Webb, Tricia Fish, and Jackie Upton. In just a few minutes, we will cut 2 ribbons on our campus. They will symbolize 2 newly named spaces, thanks to generous donors and some behind-the-scenes work from our entire advancement office. Our first ribbon cutting on campus will take place in the McMillian Center, and that is the Webb Center for Teaching and Learning. Honoring Tommy Webb in this way started with a named endowment for Tommy from Wes and Kathy Ellenberg. Wes wanted Tommy to participate in the design of how the endowed funds would impact the school forever. So I had to find another way to surprise Tommy. So the advancement office went to work and raised more money, and today we get to celebrate a space that is named for Tommy, the Webb Center for Teaching and Learning. The Webb Center for Teaching and Learning is a cross-divisional space intended for lower, middle, and upper school students, and faculty, to come together and communicate, collaborate, and share ideas. The purpose of the center is to provide a space for cross-divisional collaboration and connection. Teachers may seek a quiet space. They also may enjoy a cup of coffee. outside the soon-to-be Italian cafe-inspired patio. That outdoor cafe furniture is on shipping delay, surprise. Small group professional development sessions and discussions will be held in the Webb Center on a monthly basis. The Webb Center will inspire creativity, collaboration, and innovation across all divisions and disciplines. One of the things faculty told me when I first arrived is that they really desired a space where they could all come together across, outside of the lower school, outside the middle school, and outside the upper school, and this will be one of those spaces. So in just a few minutes, we will break and go straight to the McMillian Center. Immediately following that ribbon cutting ceremony, we will move to the upper school, where we will cut the ribbon for the Fish Upton College Counseling Center. The heart of the college counseling team for over 2 decades at GDS included Tricia Fish, Jackie Upton, Patricia Horvath, and Bob Demery. The Fish and Upton duo, built on the essential relationship dynamic, was a hallmark of the program, and it was given flight by Bob Demery. Tricia Fish served as a teacher of English during all of her 34 years on the Greensboro Day School faculty. During the second half of her tenure, she added college counseling to her responsibilities, but she was always a teacher at heart, and she was cherished by her students. To watch Tricia Fish interact with the students in her classroom, unfortunately I didn't have that opportunity as a new head of school, but it was to understand what the GDS honor code phrase, mutual trust and respect, meant, and was lived in action. Jackie Upton, whether she was teaching history or working with the school newspaper or serving as director of college counseling, she was passionate about her career in education. She shared that passion with her colleagues and her students at GDS for 27 years, from 1986 through 2013. In 1993, Jackie wrote an op-ed piece for the News and Record, quote, "I find going back to my classroom like going home. The thought of once again building bridges of learning between my students and myself is exhilarating." Jackie's history and journalism classes, and later her college guidance office, were indeed home-like, where there was always warmth and support, but always a challenge to come up with new ideas. The insight, thoroughness, honesty, and kindness she brought to the program won the respect, admiration, and appreciation of students, parents, college admission counselors, and officers, and it firmly established the GDS College Guidance Program as a signature feature of Greensboro Day School. The Fish and Upton Endowment was established to recognize the contribution of Tricia Fish and Jackie Upton to the development of the GDS College Counseling Office. This endowment was made possible thanks to a donor who wishes to remain anonymous. But that didn't stop our generous donors. The funds continued to come in, and eventually we were able to honor them with a named space today. Is Kathy Davis here today? I'm going to take Kathy. Where are you? Hi, Kathy. Hey. I want to call out Kathy for her ambitious willpower. She worked behind the scenes as a volunteer to get this, to raise these funds and to get this space named for Tricia and Jackie. Thank you, Kathy. And a little birdie tells me a lot of this had to do with an idea that Kathy had. So I want to give her credit for that. When I'm in the office and I share, I have an idea, a lot of people perk up. The CFO, though, runs away, and so does our Director of Advancement. So this was one idea that works out really well. So now we're going to transition. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. We are going to head to the McMillian Center, where we're going to do the ribbon cutting ceremony first for the Webb Center for Teaching and Learning. On our way there, you can feel free to stop by under the tents in our Keeley Commons, where, by the way, it's where our students have lunch, have class, participate in study hall right now in COVID, and they've been enjoying that. There are refreshments there. After that, we will transition over to the upper school for the Fish Upton College Counseling Center ribbon cutting. Again, anytime in between that transition, you're welcome to stop by the Keeley Commons for refreshments. And then after both ribbon cutting ceremonies, we will all gather in the Keeley Commons up until 6 p.m. for refreshments and just to socialize and see each other, hopefully with our masks off. So I look forward to seeing you there. Ian, do you have anything else to add to our program?
Just use these doors.
Okay, so we're going to use these doors.